Located in northeast Atlanta, Buford Highway stretches across 3 counties: Fulton, DeKalb, and Gwinnett. At a glance, its miles of asphalt and concrete medians make it appear conventional and standard. Along its sides are numerous businesses and restaurants, seemingly monotonous, lacking identity. Yet, at a closer look, Buford Highway travels further than a road. It represents a convergence of cultures in a homogeneous society. It represents hope and opportunity for those who persevere for a better life. It represents a safe haven for cultures, no matter how different or how far they have traveled, developing a radically new idea of change and acceptance.
You can find anything within 5-mile radius of Buford Highway. Malaysian, Indian, Chinese, Korean, you name it. It's all over here. I love Buford Highway.
It's kind of unique, right? You can see every kind of ethnic food here. It is very good. That's why we're here. We want to be part of it, right? We want to contribute in the community.
We have communicated with several business owners and individuals regarding their impact and story to understand how Buford Highway serves as a bridge that closes the gap between differing cultures and mindsets, and to better understand how Buford Highway serves as a road to diversity. Today, Buford Highway is considered an international corridor that is home to hundreds of ethnic restaurants. Buford Highway offers a cultural experience that cannot be found anywhere near. But how did Buford Highway become a mecca of diversity? How did Buford Highway transform from an ordinary highway to a distinct community that welcomes all? The long and rich history of Buford Highway dates all the way back to 1945, the end of World War II. After the war, the United States consolidated its position as the richest and most powerful country in the world. The post-war economic boom of America was partially due to the automobile industry and housing boom. That was also the time when large corporations and industries emerged, forever transforming industrial America.
The reconversion of war plants to peacetime pursuits is going ahead at full speed. And once more, the automobile factories are humming as huge stamping presses form the bodies of the first automobiles produced since the spring of 1942.
As the majority of the workforce started to transition away from producing goods to providing services, there was also a mass movement of people from the cities into the suburbs, resulting in the rise of metropolitan areas such as Atlanta. In order to better connect the population of these metropolitan areas between the cities and suburbs, the Highway Act of 1956 was passed. This kickstarted a massive effort to connect all of America with more than 64,000 kilometers of roads.
By 1956, there were more than 65 million cars on our roads, with 90 million forecast by 1975. Clearly, it was a time for national action. Congress responded with the Federal Aid Highway Act of 1956, providing the staggering sum of $51 billion to be spent by the states on highway construction by 1971.
Even though the construction of these roads were funded by the federal government, the states were in charge to actually implement plans and policies to construct them. This led to each and individual state having a different approach in the construction of these roads. Unlike the other states, Georgia did not widely implement tolls. Instead, it used advanced technology for the time, such as photogrammetry and computers such as the IBM 650 and computer programs. Leading other states in terms of the uniformity and standardization of highways, Georgia set a precedent for the usage of technology in the construction of roads. In 13 years and over $840 million worth of funds, Georgia was ahead of the game, successfully connecting the Atlanta metropolitan. The successful construction of these highways was a significant step for Georgia. As Herbert Jenkins, a longtime Atlanta police chief, stated, the expressways moved the city from a small town to a great international city. And one of the roads connecting Atlanta was State Route 13, later to be renamed Buford Highway. Even during the late 1950s, early 1960s, SR-13 was an essential road to the residents of the surrounding area. It spanned through 3 counties, providing a reliable mode of transportation. The highway helped connect railroad cities such as Doraville and Chambly. SR-13 provided an easy access to other locations throughout Georgia. In the physical sense, SR-13 successfully connected different parts of Georgia with a convenient highway, but in the cultural sense, SR-13 was like any other highway. Back then, residents in Georgia, especially in cities such as Doraville and Chambly, were predominantly middle-class whites. Culturally and ethnically, Georgia was homogeneous. In fact, the majority of the United States was culturally and ethnically dominated by whites. But that would soon change. During this time period, America experienced a series of events that would shape the future of the Great Melting Pot. Within a 2-decade period, the United States went through a state of fear and isolation, a state of horror, and a state of resolve. Optimism filled the hearts of the American people after the post-war economic boom. However, dread and suspense later replaced those feelings during the Cold War. Before, American minds were filled with hope for utopia and unity, but the Cold War replaced that mindset with fear and xenophobia. America was headed down a dark path of isolation, but then 2 wars broke out, once again changing the mindsets of Americans. America was forced to see the horrors and violence of war yet again. America was forced to witness the humanity of the enemies. America was forced to act. Some people acted by protesting, others remained silent. Nonetheless, America's dominant mindset of isolation was broken. Later on, with racial tensions high and America unsure of its identity, the Civil Rights Movement solidified America's title of the melting pot. While America at first was a nation of isolation and tension, the abolishment of racial segregation marked the first step towards a nation of diversity. America still has a long way to go, but this is when America became a beacon of hope and opportunity. This was when other people from different nations started to notice that.
I've lived in DeKalb County all my life, went to DeKalb County schools, and I've lived in Doraville for 32 years. Well, you know, the city of Doraville was considered an industrial city for a very long time because of General Motors. So you had many different types of restaurants, but you know, we had like a Pizza Hut and a El Chico's restaurant, and I think we had a steakhouse and a Steak and Shake and Burger King, McDonald's. We had those type of businesses. We had I think it was called Skateland USA, just typical businesses.
As Mayor Pittman mentioned, Buford Highway was initially just a highway. About 3 decades ago, Doraville, Chambly, and Norcross was home to a fairly large population of middle-class whites. Diversity did not exist in these areas, but that was soon about to change. The foundation was already set for a massive boom in the immigrant population. The creation of miles and miles of highways throughout Georgia provided better access and commutes between cities and suburbs. The transition from blue-collar to white-collar careers left industrious job opportunities for immigrants. The housing boom and the rise of suburbs also resulted in the creation of hundreds of housing and opportunity complexes along the areas. Affordable housing and easy access to jobs was a perfect formula for a first generation of immigrants. But there had to be a catalyst to speed up the process of migration of thousands of immigrant families. There had to be an event to kick off the new age of globalization and diversity in Atlanta. And that happened during the summer of 1996, the Olympics. The purpose of the Olympics goes beyond competition. At its core, the event promotes peace and unity and to celebrate the diverse cultures of the world through the medium of sports. The host country of the Olympics changes every 4 years to relieve political tensions and strengthen ties among one another, to unify under one shared interest, and in 1996, Atlanta was selected to host a union of 197 various countries. But the Olympics were not only the gateway to competition. The Olympics provided Atlanta a chance to showcase their city to ethnicities worldwide, leaving a legacy not only for athletes, but also their culture. They led immigrants to realize that Atlanta was more than a host for the Olympics. It would turn out to host their families and generations after. As construction workers were in demand to prepare for the Games, Atlanta attracted Latinos and Asians in need for employment. And as Washington Post put it in 1996, they were like moths attracted to an Olympic fire. As these waves of immigrants flooded into Atlanta, they needed a place to live and jobs to fill. The junction between Chamblee and Doraville, SR 13, provided the affordable housing and industrious jobs that immigrants needed, serving as a road that not only connected suburbs and cities in Atlanta, but also introduced opportunity and hope to newcomers. In addition to housing and employment, immigrants made it a safe place for people to express their diverse backgrounds and culture. Their desire to share their culture manifested into ambition that fueled restaurants that not only satisfied their longing to stay in touch with their roots, but also represented and showcased their own unique cultures. After Havana Sandwich Shop, the first ethnic restaurant, opened on SR 13, an influx of cuisines followed. With a significant increase in the immigrant population, SR 13 and its surrounding areas became more diverse. Because of the easy access to jobs in other parts of Georgia that resulted from the Highway Act of 1956. Because of the availability of industrious jobs due to a shift from an industry-based economy to a service-based economy. Because of the accepting mindset some parts of America had attained due to the civil rights movement. Because of the large waves of immigrants that the 1996 Olympics attracted. Because of the affordable housing that was available due to the housing boom after World War II. Because of the convenient location of SR 13, it started to nurture a unique and diverse community consisting of immigrants. As more ethnic restaurants and businesses started to pop up and different cultures from the world started to come together, SR 13 began to transform from an ordinary highway that physically connected Georgia together. It evolved into something far more significant, far more profound. State Route 13 became a diverse cultural hub known today as Buford Highway. Buford Highway for us?
Well, Buford Highway's been a transformation over the last few years. I actually went to camp on Buford Highway. I went to youth camp growing up, and so the changes that I've seen over the years in Buford Highway has been very welcoming. We have become very diverse. We have many restaurants. You can just about find anything in the world that you want to eat. People come from all over. I see people every day that go, wow, we even fly in sometimes at PDK to come eat on the Buford Highway corridor because there's so many things to offer there.
Well, one of the best things about Buford Highway is it has, I would say, residences of people from a lot of different countries, a lot of different communities, and as a result of that, to cater to them, you have restaurants and whether it is dry cleaning stores or beauty parlors or even farmers market for different ethnicity and different groups of people and different communities.
Buford Highway's rich history shapes its rich congregation of cultures. From the 1956 Highway Act to the 1996 Olympics, its numerous restaurants are now widely visited and celebrated for their authentic style. As the Cobb County Chamber of Commerce coined the phrase, Buford Highway is an international corridor. Merely driving down Buford Highway, one can see slices of culture from the rest of the world.
The restaurant is named called Tempo Dulu. Tempo Dulu in our Bahasa is Tempo Dulu, but in English it's probably the old days. Yeah, it's kind of the old days restaurant. the reason it's very special because our food is kind of unique. We are totally different with kind of Chinese food, totally different like Indian food, totally different like Pakistan or Middle Eastern or Korea. Probably yes. It's totally different. We have our distinguished and specialty about the spice and everything.
Now, Panahar Bangladeshi cuisine is actually the very first Bangladeshi restaurant in Atlanta. Before this one, there was no other Bangladeshi restaurant in Atlanta. We opened in December 2001. So it's quite a while ago. And from the very beginning, the fact that it was Bangladeshi restaurant at that point, the very first one, that actually helped in the business, made it different, made it unique. We were actually featured also in the food channel because the fact that it was a Bangladeshi restaurant, not necessarily a quote-unquote Indian restaurant.
We are the only Russian restaurant in Atlanta, Georgia. In Georgia.
Really?
Yes, we have another restaurant, but it's not a restaurant, it's a banquet hall. It's a family-run restaurant. First it was a seafood restaurant. That's why you see a logo of two fishes, yin and yang kind of, you know. It was a seafood restaurant. We were open for about a year, and then we decided to reconcept it. So, and we opened up a priori meats. So we're doing a steaks, Eastern European cuisine, which is all the Eastern European salads. We're also doing a Uzbeki kitchen. That's where I was originally born in Uzbekistan. So such dishes as plov, manti, kebabs, it's all from Uzbekistan.
Each and every restaurant and individual has their own story to tell. Their own unique experiences and upbringing shape their restaurant today.
I was born in Indonesia. I was born in Jakarta, the capital, and I'm the first generation here. So my kids were born here, and I'm not the kind of the person that really into the business restaurant, especially about the food, because I'm electrical engineer. My husband is electrical engineer, so we work for telecommunication company actually. But the reason because I'm getting old and my kids getting big, so let's try something new.
So origin is Korean. I'm a third generation Russian-born Korean. So I was born and raised in Russia, and my dad and my mom was. As my grandfather grew up there. We originally moved from Korea. There was no south or north back then. Basically ran from Japanese aggression towards Russian border, Manchuria over there. And we got relocated by Stalin in, let's say, 1930s. So yeah, I was originally born in Uzbekistan. Tashkent is one of the Soviet republics that was under Soviet Union. So now it's an independent country.
Living in the US is challenging, but it's fun. The fun part is when I can meet every other people from different background. That's what I cannot find in Indonesia. In Indonesia, I just met Indonesian, right? Here, I can see, different kind of people. It's very fun.
I came here when I was 16, so I just had everything starting over there, all the parties and everything. I missed out a lot, but you know what? I live here for 18 years now. I consider myself an American more than anything. I went to Parkview High School here. You guys know Parkview in Lilburn? Yeah. So I graduated in 2004. Okay. I lived in Moscow in Russia for 2 years.
What was that like?
It was cold. No, it was actually really awesome. I loved it out there. It was. I honestly don't regret the fact that I grew up there. I kind of proud about it. It's a totally different childhood than it is in America. As an American, right now, I was happy that I was raised there in Russia and Uzbekistan, and I kept my culture and my traditions from there.
With Buford Highway attracting thousands of ethnically diverse individuals to one location, it offers an accessible multicultural experience from Latin America to Asia. As Buford Highway is not strictly divided ethnically in the geographical sense, all these different individuals can come together to share their culinary talents, their background strengthening and inspiring them rather than inhibiting them. But Buford Highway is even more special than an international corridor. Buford Highway has created a community that transcends food or culture. The individuals of Buford Highway have not only provided taste of their culture, they have also created an atmosphere of hospitality and friendship exclusive to the area. They display their heritage in restaurant's history, bringing not only themselves closer to home, but also their visitors.
Well, I think it represents a great cultural diversity. I think that's what it represents. A wonderful blend of many cultures and many people that come here and have succeeded in wonderful businesses of all sorts.
Why Buford Highway became this cultural hub?
I just think it was a welcoming community, very welcome and very diverse, and a perfect location for to open up a business of that sort. You have a lot of access to the community.
If different communities of people, or even let's say someone who is mainstream American, if he or she goes and visits restaurants of different community and enjoys the food of the different community, then not only he's just eating the food, he's also meeting the staff, meeting other people, he's learning about that culture. So there's becoming an interconnection. And in the same respect, what also helps is that people from other countries and communities who are actually running that restaurant, they can also learn a lot from their clientele, from the customers. So it's a two-way street. So they can each learn from from the other, and then it becomes a more congenial society, as opposed to people always being very skeptical about the other person just because he looks different or speaks different or acts different.
By displaying genuine hospitality and excitement to share their culture, these individuals have shaped Buford Highway into a community that embodies unity. Their businesses echo a distinct culture through their food, atmosphere, and hospitality. They continue to display a culture unknown to most and a memory to those who live parallel to it.
Food. For me, personally, I have a quote. Food can unite everybody, right? So with food, everybody, can share it, Yeah. For me, the important about food, so people try to know Indonesian more from the food. They try first, and then like you try something here. Oh, what is it? And then you want to know. Oh, what is the culture? Oh, how is this different between this menu and the other menu? Is different because we try to. What we do here, we try to put. We have a 27 province in Indonesia. The way we put it, all the menu here, we try to take every menu as to represent every province. So that's why the taste is very different. That's why we try to introduce, this is our culture, this is the different province and the different type of taste, different type of menu. So it's fun.
I believe each town, each city should have something like Buford Highway. It all really opens up an American view on Asian culture and foods and everything.
Today, we live in a society that is still plagued with racial and ethnic tension. Even while globalization is increasing, mindsets that do not accept others who look and act differently remain dominant, nurturing a culture of hate and prejudice. Buford Highway, however, is the epitome of unification that shatters the culture of hatred. Buford Highway is an enigma within our society. Not only does it represent the significance of sharing and learning about other cultures, but it also represents the importance of welcoming others, no matter their background. These individuals of Buford Highway have portrayed genuine hospitality and excitement to share their own culture and learn about the countless cultures that surround them. These individuals have portrayed that gathering together as a community with interest and compassion is indeed possible. These individuals have portrayed that there is hope in this culture of hatred, that one day we can all come together and celebrate our differences instead of assimilating to one another. These individuals represent the warmth and care that help germinate the seed of diversity throughout Buford Highway. and potentially a greater area. These individuals make Buford Highway a unique community rarely seen elsewhere. Buford Highway, even when it was called State Route 13, served as a vessel that connected the people of Georgia. Georgia was a leader in the construction of roads and set the precedent for the standards and techniques for the rest of the country. Parallel to that, Buford Highway serves as a leader in diversity and sets the precedent for what it truly means to be immersed in another culture. Buford Highway was a road that provided jobs and housing to immigrants. Buford Highway was a road that gave these newcomers a chance to express their diverse backgrounds and customs. And today, Buford Highway provides the same experience to each visitor, the understanding that conveys hospitality and acceptance through an eye-opening epiphany of heritage. Buford Highway is a road that connects all of us through the medium of culture. Through its pervasive essence of acceptance, Buford Highway will continue to be a road to diversity.